All right, all right.
Welcome.
Here we go.
Let's do this.
What I'm talking about, man. I'm stoked about today.
Yeah, how you doing, Evan?
It is Friday, October the 15th. This is Labs Advisors Live. I am Evan Ransom, your host, as always, with my wonderful, gorgeous, handsome co-host, Mr. Joe McHugh. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, I'm fantastic. I could not be better because we got a phenomenal and exciting guest for you here today, Mr. Mike Hyde.
What's happening, guys?
What's going on, man?
Mike, why don't you tell everybody where you're from? Let's start off right today.
Yeah, so for everybody who doesn't know me, I'm Mike Hyde. A lot of guys call me Mikey Hyde. I'm up here in Missoula, Montana, which is the southwestern side of the state. And we're up here today to show you guys on how our team's managing our database.
Cool. I love that.
Yeah.
And Mike, you said this year you've done 20. You're doing 25 million in production this year.
That's where we're on track at this point. Yes, sir.
Nice, absolutely. And then what was I love this too. What is next year's goal?
Our goal next year is 50 million.
Boom. Wow. And so you've been putting in some systems and processes in place to help you scale up to that level, which I believe is what we're going to be talking a little bit about today, right?
Yeah, we're going to be talking about some systems, some communication steps, and just some conversations that we can have with our friends and family to put our foot as real estate professionals in the right direction and actually get that 12% conversion rate that Gary talks about out of database management is the goal.
And Mike, you were actually just sharing with us because you came from a place of and almost seeing your shortcomings in this area, right? If you don't mind sharing that. And you were like, I could do better. And so this was born out of that I could do better, right?
Exactly. You know, as I've navigated through the real estate world with Keller Williams, I've always been a KW agent since a rookie. Each year, we're always trying to hit that next financial achievement, right? And in the process, you see where your shortcomings are. And when I got into real estate, I was big into cold calling and just going out, boots on the ground, for sale by owners, expireds. And I did not manage a database. And so I was running real loose and I had to do these activities in order to actually get a client. And it wasn't sustainable. And in 2017, I ended up breaking my T12. I crushed it in a four-wheeler accident and I got put on timeout for like 10 weeks. And in that process, I had a hospital bed delivered to my home office and I sat there in this bed and went through my database. I went through all of my notebooks that I had from the previous 6 months. And what I quickly realized was that one, like with my back being broke, I couldn't leave. So if I cold called, I couldn't go on an appointment, right? So that was my first obstacle. Second, I realized that out of 6 notebooks I had pretty much overlooked about $350,000 in GCI in leads and conversations that I never followed back up on because these notebooks just don't remind us to call Chad at 2:00, right? And so that was a real hard pill to swallow in December of 2017 for me. Was like, oh my God, like I've hurt myself. I've misplaced 4 times the amount of money that I made this year by just mismanaging leads and contacts. And now I'm in this position where like, I need to like get this figured out and quick. And so I started looking at my database and I didn't have one. And so I started like compiling a database and reaching out to people. And that's when I found or realized that like probably at least 8 or 9 of my close contacts had bought or sold real estate that year. And I didn't know about it because I hadn't communicated with them. And so from that point forward is what put me into the database management arena and how to like really build our business so sustainable.
I love that story because first of all, it says a lot about you, right? Because how many people would have looked at that number and just been like, I'm done, I'm out. No one wants to do business with me. You know, I'm gone. And you were just like, nope, mistake made. I'm not going to make it again. And I love that. And what we're going to learn today was actually built from coming from that place. And I think that's all. Well, it's not awesome you left that money on the table, but it's awesome that we got that, right?
Well, fell forward, right? Like what was crazy is I've been to 9 bowls at this point, and probably about 7 bowls when I broke my back. And I reached out. Montana, we're a big state, so we have like Kalispell, Helena, Bozeman, Missoula, and we all do bowls and take turns going to them. And so I have a pretty good relationship across the state. And I reached out to Eric Schweitzer, who's the OP for Helena's KW. And I was like, hey man, like, does anybody want to buy my family reunion ticket this year? That was for 2018. I was like, I'm still in this back brace. It was like January. I'm like, I can't go anywhere. Like I'm broke. Like I really like done a real bad job of managing my business. Like I was just feeling at my all-time low. And Eric's like just nonchalantly like, sounds like you need to go to family reunion and sharpen your sword, dude. And I was just like, are you kidding me?
That's the most KW response I have ever heard. I love it.
I hung up with him and I kind of stewed on it for a day. And then I was like, dude, Eric's right. And so I went to that family reunion in Anaheim. It was probably one of my most impactful family reunions in my career. It's when Gary launched the technology department of KW. And it's when my broker and OP asked me to step into this MCTT role up here at our market center. And so that's when I stepped into this technology world on top of like failing as a database management owner. And then here we are now, a few years later, talking with you guys.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's dive in. Like
absolutely. Let's get right in. And as we're pulling up Mike's screen for him to lead the charge here, for those that are watching online, please feel free to comment your questions in the Facebook thread. And Joe, I'll let you take away the special permissions they need to be requesting in order to do so. Very simple.
As always, please give StreamYard permission. It's in the posting. Go to StreamYard.com/Facebook or Facebook.com/StreamYard.
It's StreamYard.com/Facebook.
Okay, that one. See, Evan did not do that, and we do not know his name. So if you don't want me to make fun of you, go there, give StreamYard permission, and we will see your comments and put them up on screen. But let's take it away, Mike. Let's do this.
Let's do this dang thing, guys. So this is Command Your Sphere. We built this guide for the agents on our team. Last year, we hit an obstacle where as a rainmaker and leader, I wasn't leading by the best example with some of our agents on database management. And so through the process, we ended up losing a couple agents. And I took a step back and kind of looked at like what I could have done better as a leader. And that's how we developed this guide. I spent about 6 months working with BTG, Brandon Tracy out of Phoenix, former KW team. And they really hit home on how to manage a database. And so I grabbed what they had taught me and I converted it into this new Command Your Sphere guide for us to teach our agents on how to reach out to their database and actually establish a real professional relationship, which would allow them the opportunity to be top of mind and get that business that was just sitting there. And we're really excited to show you guys it today.
Love that.
So, like when you think about your sphere of influence in real estate, it's your personal sphere is a group of people who form your business foundation. Your sphere will include friends, family, past coworkers, neighbors, past clients, and basically any individual that you have contact information for. And what the mega agents that we've been following and learning from over the years have taught us is that nurturing existing relationships is way more effective than starting fresh with a stranger or a Facebook lead. Because at the end of the day, we look at these Facebook leads, we're like 2% conversion. If you get your smart plans right, you can get that up to 7% maybe over 24 months of nurturing these leads. And at the same time, if we just build a solid foundation, a solid group of people that believe in us, trust us and would like to do business with us, we can see a 12% conversion. And so through that, we're all looking for right now business. And right now business comes in the form of a sustainable database that is pipeline business. Because as you stack this out 6 months, 8 months, a year from now, as you wake up each day, each week, you have right now business. If you're actually using these systems and using command to follow up. And so it makes it so you don't have to lead generate as much as relationship build with your contacts.
Isn't it? It's like 5 times more expensive to take somebody who has a cold relationship and warm them to do business with you than an existing relationship. So you could spend about a fifth. You could look at it 2 ways. You could either spend about a fifth of it at converting people who already like you, or you could pour in that full amount into those people and just be that guy, right? Love it.
And if you can't manage your own database and nurture people that already know you, how would you ever expect to be able to nurture a Facebook lead good enough to actually do business with you in 8 months from now, 9 months from now? And so they kind of go hand in hand. And once you get this piece right, then you can get the lead generation pieces where you're adding in these other levers and sources.
Yeah.
So again, like you just like, I think a lot of people get jammed up when they're thinking about their database, like who do I put in it? And they get real conservative and really you need to get broad. You need to think about all the things that are out there, kind of like the bold memory jogger, where it's like, who's your hair salon person? Who's your electrician? Who's your accountant? Like, who are your people? And get them into a spreadsheet, into command, so you can actually start reaching out and establishing that conversation. And what you'll find is most of our contacts are happy to hear from us, right? And at the same time, if they're not, then they don't need to be in our database. It's okay to let people go too, because we want it to be a fun activity and we want it to be something that we can do consistently and feel good doing. And so the first part is getting it organized and having this first conversation, so you know truly that the people that are in your actual sphere deserve to be there.
Cool. I love that.
I think some of the main things to keep in mind when you're doing something like this is to take your time when you're talking to potential clients and contacts. Remember to pause, ask questions, repeat important details to show that you're listening and care about the conversation. And that's why when you're reaching out your database, there's times where you're talking about family, life, that type of stuff. And there's other times when you're talking about business, because we have to talk about business and ask for business at a certain point, right? And just establishing that conversation up front can do a lot when you're really nurturing your contacts, because if it's always about business, they're not going to want to talk to us. And at the same time, if we don't ask for business, we might not get it. So finding that balance, using command again for your notes, so you can update your conversations on activities and etc. So when you pick back up in 4 weeks or 3 weeks, you know that, last time I asked for business, this time I'm just going to look at Facebook and see what they have going on, and then just talk about life. And if they bring business up, we'll have that conversation. And if not, it's just a good, sincere touch with our database, and that's fine, because it doesn't always have to be about business. So with real estate, it's a relationship-based business. The agent who consistently communicates with their database wins. And so the people who know you and trust you will be the lifeline of your business year after year. And that's really where, if you have your database managed correctly and you have a hardship, like I injured myself, is your database is going to keep working. You don't have to go and find new clients. Your database, if you have them in the systems, is going to be sustainable, even if you have to take a week or 2 or 4 off for an emergency. And so again, just making sure that we have these systems in place is so important for everyone's business. When Gary Keller interviews top producing agents year after year at Family Reunion and Mega Camp, the main focus of their businesses is a nurtured and communicated database. Every time you hear it, I don't care who he's interviewing. They're like, we nurture our database. We do open houses. We call for sale by owners and expirers. These guys are doing the same thing over and over, and that's why they're successful. And the big piece is the database management part. So anybody that's been to Command or Bold knows about the D2T2 organization of your database. And for us, it's super important that anybody that's in our sphere, it has a D2T2 tag. That way we can not have to overthink how we're reaching out to our contacts each week. Each week you pick a group. There's 13 weeks, which lands you at 4 quarterly calls a year if you're just running off of these groups. And so it can streamline an agent's business because you could go on vacation, have a long weekend, have a bad Monday, whatever. And on Tuesday, you could show up and say, yep, last week before I quit, I was on AWs. So this week I will start calling BEs. And you can go to work. You can grab that tag on a Monday and send a bulk text to everybody in that tag and say, hey, it's Mikey Hyde. Just wanted to reach out and connect with you this week. Is there a good time I can call you? ? And you can send that to your whole group in 1 minute. And then as they respond back, then you know who you need to call.
Interesting.
Yeah. So you can actually do a reverse Bold 100 in the manner in which you're asking for your contacts permission on their week, if it's okay for you to call them. And at the end of the day, if they don't respond, you can always call them. It's just one more touch. And it just shows, it's just a better way of reaching out and staying in communication. Right.
I like it too, because that helps you prioritize who you need to be talking to right at the start of the week.
Yeah. I want to talk to people that want to talk to me. So the people that respond back, they probably want to talk to me. And so I'm going to reach out to them. Before a Facebook lead, right? They're important, but we got a time block and make sure that we're putting the value in each one of these bins. Because if we're allowing our agents to sit there and call 100 Facebook leads a day and they're not calling their database, then we're failing them as leaders. And we have to make sure that they understand the value behind the database management, because once they do, then we don't have to motivate them. They'll be inspired to do that. And that's what we really want, is to bring on this culture of inspired action, of productivity to our market centers. And the database with Command, you can hands down do it better now than I've ever been shown how to in the last 6 years with the technology that we have. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also want to point out what Mike's put here in the comments. Texting allows you to plan and gives you a look forward to it feeling for lead gen.
Yeah.
I love that as a little bit of nuance for that.
And you'd be amazed. Sometimes we have call reluctancy, oh no, Chad doesn't want to talk to me. I know he's busy, right? However, if you just do that bulk text out to just that group, and Chad responds back, well, now you've let Chad say yes instead of saying no for it, right? Yeah. And so it just makes it a little more streamlined and purposeful as you start looking at your database. And for most agents, and again, I don't care how big your database is, I really care about how nurtured it is. So if you have 3,000 people in your database, I'm happy for you. And at the same time, I would dare bet someone that's properly nurturing 300 contacts and having these conversations is going to be a better database than the 3,000 if they just are putting them in a bunch of bulk garbage.
What's funny about that? We actually have an agent in our local office, or in our sister office, who has a 400-person database who outperforms most agents in the market center. Because he's doing just that. He's loving on them with events, with calls, with texts, with video. He just loves on his database, and they love him back. So
well, exactly, and that's where we have to get creative now, right? Because we have smart plans, and they're amazing if we use them smartly. Right. If we put too many tasks into them, or we put our database into generic automated conversations that don't apply to them, then they're dumb plans. And so you really got to be purposeful as we say, okay, how can we pull these levers and make these smart plans organic and authentic and still me. They're still getting me at the end of it with manual actual interaction steps within them. And so it's an exciting time to really look at how we can create smart plans that can make us better relationship builders, at the same time utilizing Twilio for their SMS messaging and the emails and those things, bomb video, stuff like that, to build better relationships.
Sure.
Some of the statistics are like 86% of home buyers and sellers would use their agent again or recommend an agent to others. However, they don't, because they never hear back from the agent. Right. And so it's like, if we get our smart plans correct and our conversations correct, we should be able to double our production without spending any money. We should just be able to double our production by having better conversations and better follow-up. 75% of most successful agents' business comes from referrals and word of mouth. And now that's a sustainable business, right? Cold calling is not sustainable unless you're doing it. And if you're not doing it, it's not going to work for you. And it's a great lever to be applying in the right time frames. And that's where time blocking and looking at all the different models makes so much sense. And with us, we're still a lead generation model with our business. We're still doing open houses. We're still calling for sell by owners and expireds in our area. We're still door knocking. We're still doing all the stuff, the fundamental things that the successful agents talk about. And on top of that, we're doubling down with our database management. Basically, 33% of agents make over $37K their first year, which means like 77 agents make less than $37,000 their first year. And so the difference is purpose and action, right? Why do some agents succeed quicker and faster than others? And it comes down to the consistent activities that bring results.
It's so interesting what you just said about the expireds, right? Because it takes a very special person for that not to drain you, right? Doing that. I mean, it's a tough thing. The amount of rejection you have to take on those, very lucrative, but you get a lot of rejection. So if you layer on top of that your best friend who you know and love then just went and bought a house with somebody else, you have no emotional push. So you could actually use these relationships like selfishly, in that they could also build you up by having those conversations with people to give you the energy to talk to the strangers. Like, it's a win-win if you do it right.
Exactly. And you look at it like, we're going to have friends and family that choose to do business with other agents along the way, right? We can't always get all of them. And at the same time, like, that is opportunity for us to be better at what our conversation is with those contacts. Because if we can look back and say, well, 86% of homeowners would use their agent again, but they never hear from them. So even though my cousin Sarah bought a house with a different agent, it just means I need to be better at following up, because Sarah still knows 5 people that are going to buy or sell a house this year. And so I need to reestablish my communication, because it's not Sarah's fault that she didn't buy a house for me. It's my fault for not letting her know my value and letting her know that I wanted to be a resource for her. And that's where this guide comes into play. Because in those moments, if you follow up better than the other agent post-close, you're going to get all of their business moving forward. It's not about this transaction. It's about all the other transactions that are around these contacts. And that's why 100 people is better than 300 if you're actually talking to them. And 300 is better than 100 if you're talking to them. And 1,000 is even better than those if you're actually talking to them and establishing this relationship. So we got to tell ourselves new affirmations. We got to create new beliefs and tell a new story for our agents, for ourselves. And with it is, like, one of my affirmations that I say every day is, I have amazing relationships and I'm a master communicator. And with that, I believe that I am a master at building relationships, because that's what we're focused on. You look at the scripts that we learn in Bold or, from our coaches, and scripts are great. They're a way of guiding a conversation and sounding like a professional. And so like when we look at scripts and we're like, well, that doesn't sound like me. Well, probably not, because these scripts were designed by individuals that were doing 100 units or more a year. And so like I might not sound like an agent doing 300 units a year. However, that's my focus, right? I want to make sure that I'm having that communication and letting them know, rather than just putting a post on Facebook with my license saying, hey, I'm a realtor now. Let me practice real estate with your biggest financial decision you have this year. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. That's a tough sell. Yeah.
Right. And so we got to start at the basics. So whether you're a brand new agent or you've been doing this for 20 years, if you haven't had these conversations with your database, there's never been a better time to start a new conversation with everyone. Successful agents learn that consistently communicating with their database makes it enjoyable and actually exciting each day. And honestly, like some coaches would say that not to. However, if you truly believe that the script doesn't sound like you, if you're going through some of our stuff in the library, then change the script. Like make it sound as much like you as possible and still keep the structure of the conversation where you need it. Everyone talks differently. And if you need to manipulate it a little bit, go for it. I think the point is to just make sure you're having these conversations. So with our Command Your Sphere guide, there's 8 steps, and we have them built out inside of Command already in the library. So if you go to the library and look under author name for Michael Hyde, you'll find all of our smart plans that we use on our team. We're updating them every week. We just put our pie giveaway text in there that's going out right now for our pie giveaway. And then we'll be putting our confirmed pie giveaway smart plan in there next week for you guys to use if you want. Again, just relationships. I think Ben Kinney said it best when he said, if you're calling your database and you're giving them something awesome or inviting them to an event, doing a client care call, checking in, or asking for business, then you're going to win. And if you make every conversation about business, you're not going to hit where you want to hit with these guys.
Yeah.
And at the same time, if you want to lose, then just email everybody and you'll lose. And if you want to win, then call your database and really get to nurturing that darn thing. Right. So when we're going over our first call with our contacts, the way we have the script set up, the objective is to collect critical info from the client, to nurture the database with any updated information, information on their kids. If you're like me, like I forget names quickly. And so I always make sure if I get a kid's name or a spouse's name, that I'm getting it into the contact card so I can be better at conversing with them about their family when I reach out. I'm a huge believer in using Facebook and looking at Facebook before you call people. It takes 2 seconds if you have their link on the contact card. And then you can look and make sure like you're up to speed with what they have going on, and you can be purposeful about the call. And then when we're doing business calls, our goal is to immediately let the contact know that it's a business call and not a friend call, because nobody wants you to kind of talk about the kids and the family and then ask about real estate. It just dilutes the conversation and it doesn't come off as sincere. And so if we're going to call and do an actual business call, like we're going to let that client know immediately that's a business call and make sure they have time for that. And if not, we'll reschedule. Because again, we want to respect our contacts or else they're not going to be there.
That's so powerful, because I know how many times do I feel awkward, asking for that thing, because I don't want the conversation I've had to feel inauthentic, right? I don't want them to think that I was just trying to get to the commission.
Right.
You don't want commission breath, as we often say. And that's a powerful way to do it. Is the only way you get there is by having the calls that aren't real estate related, and so that you can have the calls that are. And I think that's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. And if you're using Command and you're updating your notes, then when you get on that contact card and you look at the timeline, you can say, oh, last time we talked about the pie giveaway. right? Or we talked about their kid getting potty trained. I can ask
Yeah.
for business now. Or nope, I asked for business last time. I'm just going to call and check in, make sure they're doing okay. Maybe
I was just thinking about this from a smart plan standpoint. I always schedule the call manually 3 months in advance, and I write the notes in there. In theory, I could have a smart plan that says business call scheduler, and then a smart plan that says personal call scheduler, and just throw them on one of those, and it would book the call in however many. I mean, it would have to be 30 days, right? Because that's all we could do. But you do have those options. So
yeah, and so it's like, how do we? And that's where if agents slow down for a second and map this stuff out, it will propel them moving forward, right? Yeah. I remember in 2018, I stopped production in August because I was getting my database out of eEdge into Brevity and ready for Command when Command was supposed to come out that following year.
Yeah.
And from that, I was able to double my production. And so even though we're training in real time as leadership with our market center, because we're learning the stuff as it comes out, we're training personnel to actually run the back end of the stuff at the same time. And we're still the top producing team at our market center because of these activities and because we're actually engaging in these systems. And I look back at where Command was 2 years ago and nothing worked. And everyone's like, why are you using that? I was using 2 databases at one point because I wanted everything in Command and I still had a business to run. And then all of a sudden I was able to go fully into Command in 2020. And I talk to agents now, they're like, well, this didn't work 2 years ago. And I'm like, dude, so much has changed in the last week, let alone 2 years. Like everything that you're like, the reasons why you're not using Command aren't even relevant anymore. So you might want to like get back in there because it's a whole new machine. And they're like, what are you talking about? And that's where it's at. So step one with the Sphere guide is a scripted call. It's designed to reach out and ask your contact to help you develop your business. It will also help you collect and confirm critical contact information and begin that professional relationship building process. With Twilio and our contacts and the fact, in order to follow compliance, everybody that gets a text from us is going to get an opt-out on their first text. And so with Command, we can bulk add people to smart plans. And if we do, we're not going to get the same results than if you put them through this smart plan first, because in this conversation, we let them know that we're going to be sending them some information and that it's going to come from our phone, our Twilio number, and not to opt out and to save it with our other cell number. That's still our number. So you're teaching your database how to actually store your information so you're not confusing them with this Twilio number as you start utilizing your smart plans. And you can't utilize your smart plans until you have this conversation, or else they're going to opt out.
So now this call is not built into the smart plan. So anybody who uses the smart plan needs to understand that this is part of it. Or do you have a smart plan that sets up this call? So if I'm going to use your system, what do I do? What do I do first?
You just go to the library and grab the smart plan, and the link to this PDF is in the notes of the smart plan.
Gotcha.
So you'll have this whole guide with you, and all you need to do is this first call script and then push activate to the Command Your Sphere smart plan, and everything else just plays out over 25 days.
And it's a 25-day smart plan. And then after that, you're pushing them to a DTD2. Like what's the,
Yep.
Okay.
Cool. So the whole goal is to get of this conversation right here is, and we could role play through this if you guys want, or I could just kind of tell you the basic concept of the script. But the reality of it is we're letting them know that it's a business call. We're asking them if they have 2 minutes for us. Once they say that they do, we thank them, and then we move on to the next step, which is where we're saying whether they know or don't know we're real estate agents, that we're reaching out to ask for their support in developing our business. And we're asking them to do something easy for us. And what we're asking them to do is download our mobile app and test it out for us. That's it. That's what we're asking. That's the best way that someone can help support our business right now as we're reaching out is saying, hey, can you please download my mobile app and demo it and share it with some of your friends and give me some feedback, because I want to make sure that this app is what our clients need.
Yeah, you're kind of backdooring mindshare, right? Is what you're essentially doing, right? You're not directly acting for the business, but you are putting yourself in front of them as somebody who does the business. And it's great. You know, it's so funny because I was teaching a class on the 8x8, which essentially what yours is a kind of squeezed together 8x8, right? You're kind of doing more in a shorter period to establish mindshare. And what I always say to agents, because they're always like, oh, they have an agent already, I don't want to bug them. I say, put them on the 8x8 and just tell them, hey, just let me know what you think of my materials, right? The effect is the same, which is they're going to get the materials. They're going to know that you're in real estate. So now you might be taking mind share from somebody else.
That's all we're looking for, is taking mind share and letting people know that we desire to be a resource for them, whether they have an agent already. We'd like to be a second option if they need information. We still would like the opportunity to help their friends and family, because just because someone has a relationship with an agent doesn't mean the 5 people that are going to buy or sell this year that they know have an agent. And so again, like if you have a relationship with a professional resource, I respect that. And at the same time, even if you do, I would still like the opportunity to be a resource for people close to you. Right? Because it's not always about that one transaction. It's about all the other transactions that are around that one transaction. And so, but by looking at everybody in our database, not just as one individual transaction, but really looking at them as 5 or 6 transactions in the next year, or 15 over the next 5, like all of a sudden you can start seeing how less of a database is more if you're having the right conversations.
Yeah.
After we get them to say, yeah, we're going to demo your app, we go into a different segment where we're saying, perfect, I'm going to send you the link from my work number as soon as we hang up today. So when you activate the smart plan, it automatically sends the link to the mobile app to their phone. They know it's coming, and it's the first text that they're going to get from your Twilio number. And they're expecting it. They're not going to be confused by it. They're going to save it to their phone, and they're going to understand that you have 2 numbers now. Like that's the biggest holdup with a lot of agents. They don't want to use Twilio because of this other number, or because they might opt out. Yeah. And it's like, well, get over it and let's move forward with what we're here to do, which is use these tools for leverage.
And what I love about that too is we're so worried about that stupid unsubscribe in the Twilio text. But if they're expecting that first text from you, they're not going to put stop because they know it's coming, and then they're in for the rest of the duration, right? Then they're there. So that's awesome.
So
can I make a comment, Mike, about your smart plan?
Yes.
Did you even know I was here?
Timber, when did you show up? Oh my gosh.
They give me some access around here, you know?
I like it.
No, so my question, because I have your smart plan activated on my database and I have myself on it. And I just want to make the comment that your text messages you have in that smart plan, they grab your attention. So I'm on it and I've opened my own text messages because it looks like a text I want to look at. I don't have my Twilio number saved as a contact yet. So it does just kind of look like another number. And so I just want to make that comment that you are really good at crafting words together for high open rate.
I appreciate that. I tell you, one of the best things that we did as a team is we read the book, The Conversion Code. And if you're looking to convert leads of any sort, the conversion code is a must read for anyone building scripts, building smart plans, because what the conversion code says is that less is more. We don't need to send people a paragraph. In fact, we get more lead conversion on old Facebook leads that say, hello, contact. Did you decide not to buy a home? And people that haven't responded in 8 months will respond to that text. And it's like, well, we should have sent them that 3 months ago. Holy smokes, what are we doing? And it's because less is more, and people are more apt to respond to one sentence than to a paragraph. And so when you're looking at like doing smart plans with emails, what the conversion code says is that the simple email is more productive than the HTML email.
Yeah.
Because it looks more personalized, and the HTML emails look more generic because they are, and they don't come off as sincere as just a simple email. It's pretty crazy to think about.
No, I love that. I love that. We spend all this money trying to make things look fancy, and it's the basic that does the heavy lifting.
And what do they say? Done is better than perfect, right? So when we look at these smart plans, like what smart plans do we need to have done in the next 7 days that are going to make our life easier moving forward? And that's what you do. Like you stop what you're doing and you do that, because you know when you get that job done, that your life is going to be easier and your conversion is going to be better. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Like I'm sure if you pick through some of my smart plans, I have stuff misspelled. That's who I am. Like I'm not worried about it. My clients, they know I'm going to misspell some. Like, in fact, if it's perfect, they're going to think something's up. Right? Who made this? And so once we get them opted in and explain how we're going to send them this mobile app, we're going to ask them if it's okay for us to send them a note card telling them thank you. And again, that's a step of the smart plan, reminding you to send a handwritten note card. And you're just going to thank them for demoing your mobile app. And it's just establishing that you're doing what you say you're going to do. Right? Because at the end of this conversation, you're basically going to have their updated mailing address. You're going to have their updated email, and you're going to have their permission to send them some Twilio communication with your mobile app, in the expectation that they're actually going to download it. Because we know we can go into command right now and I can send everybody in my database this mobile app link. They're not going to download it, right? Unless I have this conversation with them. And so that's how we can guarantee that if you run your database through this smart plan in the next 90 days, starting January 1, your contacts are going to have your mobile app, and everybody else is going to wish that their clients did have their mobile app and they haven't had this conversation. And that's how we're going to start really winning with the mobile app and getting people into our database the right way.
So one thing I want to bring up, when we teach 36 Touch, we talk about the two fundamental words of cement and saturate. And I think that this smart plan and this process that you have is being very intentional about that. So I just wanted to point that out, because a lot of us are trying our best, right? Which there is no try. I've been at Bold a day and I'm already like, just kidding. But there is no try. And this is cementing your database and saturating. I mean, how many steps does this smart plan have? You might be getting to that, but.
Yeah, I'll pull that up here in a sec. I'll actually show it to you. Let me see here. So with the introductory phone call, you're gonna have a couple of things going on. One, it may be that they don't answer, right? So we're gonna leave a voicemail just for that touch and let them know that we're reaching out. And if we reach out a second time and we can't get in touch with them, again, we're gonna leave them the second voicemail. And at the same time, if you kind of send a text out before you do this call to see who's available this week, it could really streamline that you're getting more pickups than voicemails. I think the thing about it is, after talking with the contact, immediately place them in the Command Your Sphere Smart Plan. Do not start the Smart Plan until you've actually had the conversation with them. Because if you do, it won't make any sense. They'll be like, what is Kimber on today? What's going on? What if I can't get a contact on the phone for the introductory call? Well, that's where I fall back to Facebook. What I found, especially when I was building my database in 2018, I didn't have a lot of my contacts' phone numbers. I grew up in Missoula, Montana. We're like 80,000 people. I know everybody. And at the same time, between 2010 and 2013, I had a lot of life changes take place in my life, fighting cancer with our son. And when we lost our son in 2012 in the fall, it was a huge blow emotionally and physically. And I kind of went dormant for a few years. I didn't reach out to everybody. We had a lot of support through the battle. And when my son passed away, I just kind of took a step back, and I had to process all of this stuff. So as I was getting into real estate, it was a real awkward time for me because one, I was broken emotionally, physically, financially. And at the same time, I didn't have any of these contacts' phone numbers. And it was a huge obstacle for me to overcome. And I remember one day I was looking at my phone at Messenger, and I seen the phone icon. And I said, well, what happens if I push this phone icon? And I pushed it, and the phone started ringing, and my friend answered, who I didn't have their phone number, because everybody has Messenger on their phone. And at that point, this light bulb went off, and it was like, I don't need everybody's phone number. I can just call them on Facebook. And that's how I rebuilt my database, was by having this conversation through Facebook Messenger, only if they answered the phone. If they didn't answer the phone, I would just send a message through Messenger, just saying, hey, it's Mikey Hyde, just reaching out. Hope all is well type conversation. If I'm going to use Messenger on Facebook, I do not use it for business. I use it for relationship building. That way I don't dilute the value of that Messenger button. And at the same time, if I push the phone, then I'm allowed to have that real estate conversation if they answer. And that's my role that I have with Facebook. And with it, was able to come over a huge obstacle. So if your contacts aren't picking up your phone, it's probably because you've been pretty bad at being a friend and building relationships. You might need to nurture that a little bit more before you ever get to this.
Well, and that goes back to
Mike, as you say that, I'm cringing, looking at my database going, oh no, I've been a really bad friend. I can say that for sure.
And guess how you become a really good friend?
Yeah.
A pie giveaway. Just give everybody in your database a pie. It's the best thing you ever do for your business. This year, we're projected to give away, I think, 400 plus pies for our pie giveaway. And my first pie giveaway in 2018, I gave away 20. And it's one of the best ways to get back in front of your people and just make a fantastic touch. Our confirmed pie giveaway smart plan, I believe, has 4 touches in it. And the first step of the pie giveaway is the initial text and phone call that we're doing right now. And that's how we're doing our whole bold as a team. Our whole bold for the next 6 weeks is all around our pie giveaway and reaching out to our past clients and our database and just giving them a pie. And so that's how you can get back in good graces if you've been bad at communicating.
That is so interesting, because you're almost taking those bold call requirements and just taking the stress out of it and making it easy. And I love that.
Yeah. I mean, because again, if we got to make 100, we get to make 100 calls each week, right? We get to choose who those calls are going to be to. Are they going to be to for sale by owners? Are they going to be to Facebook leads? Or are they going to be to the people that like us, trust us, and want to do business with us? And by really saying, okay, this has a 12% to 15% conversion, and this has a 2% conversion, I think I'm going to hang out over here in the 12% arena, knowing that it's not going to be right now business today. However, as I build this pipeline out over the next year, it will become right now business each day, each week, each month, once I get this call done.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Now, Evan, you haven't done it yet. I don't know when you do it, but we are at 10 minutes. So
I don't know when you do.
I don't know when you do, but we're at 10 minutes.
Well,
now.
you know what I'm thinking? I'm really enjoying, honestly, just like listening to Mike talk about this. I haven't been very talkative this episode, but I mean, I think everything Mike is saying is phenomenal value. And this is really good. What I'd really like to see as well, because Mike, you said that you've put this in the library for folks to take as well.
Yeah, can you guys see my screen?
We can.
Yes, we can.
All right, so if you search Michael Hyde under author name inside a command, you will find all of our smart plans that we publish for everyone to use. And we have the Command Your Sphere smart plan sitting right here. It's a total of 15 steps.
16 agents using it. That's beautiful.
Cool.
Yeah, and honestly, like, I would love to see, not for myself, I would love to see this over 10,000 agents by the first of the year, because if there was 10,000 agents doing this activity over the next 90 days, I would really like to see what their database looks like in 2022 at the end of it.
And Mike, I would love to have us on here to kind of do a part 2 to this video to wrap up. I know that you got more to say and more to go over with this plan. But let's do this real quick. For anybody who is on Facebook watching, we do appreciate you. Hit those comments. I know we're all kind of in awe of just how much Mike has put together and prepared for this, because this is really just absolutely incredible. Let's get many last questions. We are on a delay with Facebook, so if you've asked your question, it might take a minute, but in the meantime, while we're waiting for those questions to come in, Joe, what was your biggest takeaway so far on the material of Command Your Sphere?
So, Evan, one of my biggest takeaways, and I think I just demonstrated it, and I always love that. I love this part, is always make people feel heard. And so when you're having these calls, it can't just be about your agenda. It has to be about building that relationship, and oftentimes getting off of your agenda, right? And then you earn the right to put your agenda in there in the future. And that's kind of like the overarching message that I've heard from this. So, you're creating mind share. Yeah, you're cementing yourself, as Kimber said, but you're doing it in a way that makes them feel special and feel heard. And I think there's so much value in that. So thanks for that, Mike. I appreciate that.
Yeah, one thing I'll show you guys too, like on the smart plan, is one of the steps after you send the note card is an automated text that goes out, just making sure that they receive the note card. And when the client responds, it looks like this. And when they respond, you ask if you can do some simple for them. And they say, sure, what is it? And that's when you ask for their permission to put them into the monthly neighborhood snapshot. Okay.
Yeah.
Because again, with Command, we've made it super easy to do things in bulk. However, if we haven't had this conversation, they may not know that we're even doing it for them, and it may be going to their spam folder. Yeah. And so then what we've done is on our dashboard under our notes section, we have our responses. So when they actually start responding back to the smart plan, I can just copy and paste my responses right from the dashboard and just right into the bell and respond back that way.
That is interesting. That's kind of brilliant.
Yeah, and so like if you find yourself using Command to respond back to leads, and you're using the same responses, because right now Command's great at getting them to respond, right? But then you got to keep it going. And so if you have some of your basic stuff sitting there, you can easily copy and paste it and respond quickly to these people as they're responding back. And again, what it's doing is it's establishing that you care, that what you said you were going to do, that they actually received it. So you're establishing a couple things. One is that you care. Two is that you're a professional and you do what you say you're going to do.
Yeah.
And then by the end of this, you're actually able to make your referral call. So the whole point of this is to get them opted in, get them into the mobile app, get their permission to receive this information, and then give them an actual breakdown of what it means to send you a referral and what you're going to do with that referral if they were to send it to you. And then you can reach out and actually ask for that business.
That's awesome. That's great. I love that it sends out that text automatically. Whoops, here we go. We're going into the matrix right now. I love that it sends out that text automatically because that I think you used the word, and I don't know if you meant it in this context, but you know that text is going out and you have not sent that note card, you kind of look like a jerk, right? So that's ultimate accountability, and that is they're going to get this text. It is going to say to them, hey, did you get my note? If you didn't send that, yeah, that's not good.
It's not going to work, right? And so it keeps you on track. And so then it's saying, okay, like if we know we need to lead generate, we know we need to lead follow up. And if we're not going to lead follow up, we probably don't need to lead generate. And so we know we need to do those two activities. So we can start time blocking our morning. And then that lead follow up is our tasks, right? And so then we can start getting real purposeful with our tasks. And then if our transaction coordinator is living out of the task bin, if our director of operations is living out of her task bin, if our marketing director is living out of the task bin, I'm living out of the task bin, then we're all accountable and we're getting it done. And with the new task applet, I can see if agents are deleting stuff. Like it don't lie. Did we archive it? Did we actually do the task? Did it expire? Like we can see all that now. So there's no hiding from the truth and the numbers. And I think with that, we can no longer lie to ourselves about where our business is and where it should be, given what we know about database management.
Well, and that's just it, right, Mike? At the end of the day, they could lie to you if they really wanted to, but you're going to see in their numbers. Like if you know your system is going to help them generate business, either they're not saying the right things or doing the right things, or they're saying they're doing it and they're not. So you at least have a conversation point with them based on everything you're looking at. And that's fantastic.
Well, I appreciate you guys. I'll send you all of our links that we have for this. That way you can share it with everyone. And again, like you can grab this concept and you can make it in any type of conversation. If you don't, let's say everybody already has your mobile app, fine, then change the conversation, and use it any way you guys need.
Yeah. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, Mike, thank you so much for coming on today. I really do appreciate you. I did want to point out really quickly in the comments, Joe, if you want to highlight that one link that I posted there from Miss Kelly Cody. I will get the other one.
That one? Oh, okay.
TWSchoolofRealEstate.com. For any agents that are watching, good ways to build your profit share, right? Of course, is helping people find good education tools in order to get their license. KW School of Real Estate is launching and does offer free pre-licensing education. So if you want your market center to learn more about how they can be using that tool to help you grow your profit share, it's a fantastic place to start. Outside of that, Joe, Kimber, Mike, anybody got anything else they want to add before we hop off of the weekend and be back next week, which I believe next week, Kimber, that's going to be your show, right?
Yeah, maybe. No, I just want to make one quick point. Mike brought up the relationship that people may or may not have with Command, right? Maybe you haven't been in it a while. You haven't been using it for your CRM or for your follow-up or any of this. I mean, even just our task applet has changed immensely in the last 10 days.
Yeah.
So that's my big takeaway is
absolutely.
Even if you start with like looking up Mike's smart plan and getting your lead gen systems back going in here, it's all there.
In our library, we're going to have some really good smart plans on just client communication for clients that are searching, under contract. Again, just ways for you to be better at communicating with your clients and not having to be the one picking the phone up every time. So they're a mix of like automated text with manual tasks for you to call or bomb in between to keep them sincere and find that balance between leverage and being too generic, basically.
Yep.
And I'm going to get a header before my green screen falls down.
I am loving this. As Evan has like Dr. Strange doing the portal.
Yeah, I want to
today.
supposed to see this. Here
we
go.
I was like, this is new.
Yeah, $20 on Amazon. Absolutely worth it, especially if you have a chair that doesn't bend backwards. Like
it is absolutely worth it if you want to make everybody laugh the entire time.
No, unfortunately, this is not my lovely home behind me. I wish it were. That being said, Mike, again, thank you so much. Kimber, thank you. Joe, we will see you guys next week on the next episode of Labs Advisors Live. Take care.
Hey, guys.
Wait, I got to hit the end broadcast button.